2021 has wrapped, and it is time to talk about here are the best ones, and then the next video we'll get into the worst ones. So today I'm going to be counting down the top 10 films for 2021. Disclaimer right off the bat, if I haven't seen the movie, it won't be on the list, and this is still my personal opinion, so if you don't agree, I don't care. So, before we get into the list, here are a few honorable mentions. Ghostbusters Afterlife, just missed it. Night Books, so close. Paw Patrol, how did this get so close? Raya and the Last Dragon, Disney definitely redeemed themselves this year, but we'll get to that in another video. Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins, I know a lot of people didn't like this one, but I did, so suck it. And the most recent film I saw, West Side Story. This was a very enjoyable remake, but couldn't quite make the list. That all out of the way, we're going to get into the top 10 best films of 2021 that I saw. Number 10, Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I know this one was relatively mixed upon reactions. A lot of people thought it was a lot of fun, and a lot of people thought it was really stupid. Personally, I happen to enjoy the Venom movies. I know the first one isn't a great film, but it is good, mindless fun. This one definitely had a better pretty much everything. The villain was stronger. Well, villains, I should say, were stronger. The action sequences were better, and the final 20-minute fight was actually pretty entertaining. The chemistry between Brock and Venom is still on point. And this movie is a nice breezy hour and a half, so you can get your fill of it pretty quick. Number 9, The Tomorrow War. Streaming movies are not, shall we say, good most of the time, but this one did actually surprise me. Chris Pratt is always a really enjoyable lead, and he did have a really good backup cast, including J.K. Simmons. The plot is pretty fun, even though it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and the movie does kind of drag near the end, but the action sequences are fun. The special effects look okay for a streaming film, I guess. The concept, it's a very novel concept, and honestly, one not far removed from reality with our shitty government. And I just found this one to be a lot of fun. I haven't watched it since, but I probably will eventually. Number 8, Cruella. Disney remakes get a bad rep, especially when it comes to ones like Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Maleficent, Alice in Wonderland, and a lot of the other schlock that they've been putting out in recent years. But every once in a while, they will make a very enjoyable remake. I thought Aladdin was good, Jungle Book was good, Pete's Dragon was good, and this one was a very enjoyable film. This one serves as a prequel to 101 Dalmatians, and honestly, I think it worked as it just being what it was. Did it match up with the continuity of the film? Fuck no. But honestly, it didn't matter because it had a very enjoyable performance out of Emma Stone. The supporting cast does pretty well, even if some of them are quite miscast. The soundtrack is just flat out outstanding. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy level good. The fashions, because it's a center point of the movie, I usually don't give a shit about costume design, but I wouldn't be surprised if this one got an Oscar nomination for Best Costume Design. Although then again, I also won't be surprised if it doesn't, because they avoid the Disney remakes like the plague unless they're Mulan for some reason. But I've bitched about that movie long enough. Number 7, Eternals. The most divisive Marvel movie to date, and one that did not deserve all the hate it got. I have a feeling this was just an easy target for people who've been waiting and waiting to bitch about the MCU at some point. This one just seemed like the easy target. Because it's not a bad film. I'd actually argue it's a really great film. Is it among the best of the MCU? Hell no, but you're talking about basically the greatest comic book films of all time being in the top of the list. So no, it's not going to be Endgame quality, or Infinity War, or Civil War, one of those. But it's still a lot of fun. You can tell this one cares a lot more about its Superman-esque character than DC does. The twist villain isn't... Unlike a lot of Disney films, the twist villain doesn't suck here, because it actually makes a lot of sense. His motivations line up, and he's actually pretty enjoyable. I thought the cast was outstanding when you have a lot of great talent with Gemma Chan, Richard Madden, Selma Hayek, Angelina Jolie. You had some really good talents here. The special effects look great. I don't know, a lot of people say the special effects don't look good in this. They're off their fucking rocker. But the action is a lot of fun. The story can get kind of convoluted. I do think this should have been 2 films, one being like hundreds of years in the past and the other one being in the modern day. But honestly, as is, this is still a really fun Marvel film. Number 6, Troll Hunters Rise of the Titans. This would have been a lot higher had it not been for that shitty ending. I have bitched about this more times than I care to count, but it deserves to be repeated. This was a fantastic film, beautifully animated with the fluid motions, the beautiful looking action sequences. It wasn't afraid to get pretty dark and heavy at times. I was honestly really shocked. The voice cast is all still excellent here. I saw this before I saw any of the shows, and I was blown away by how good it was, but it threw it all in the trash in the last 5 minutes. Weak. Number 5, Black Widow. The MCU strikes again, and this will not be the last one on this list, I guarantee it. Well, people have been waiting over a decade for this film, pretty much since her first appearance in 2010's Iron Man 2. And was it worth the wait? I'd argue it is. Obviously, the best character in this is Yelena Belova, played by Florence Pugh. She was also the best character in the Hawkeye show. David Harbour does outstanding as Alexei, I think that's her name, or his name. Rachel Weisz does really well as her mother, can't remember her name. And I haven't really been impressed with Scarlett Johansson's antics as recent, but she still does pretty good in the role. I'm not going to discredit that. Again, the only thing that brought this movie down from being even higher was the awful twist involving Taskmaster. And if you've never read a comic, you're probably wondering why the twist was so bad. Read a comic and you'll find out. Number 4, Free Guy. I was anticipating this being the number 1 when I was looking through all my stuff at the beginning of the year, and I was looking through all the movies that were coming out. I was surprised how low this movie actually was, but does that make it bad? Obviously not, if it's on the best list. Ryan Reynolds is always a fun talent, is always fun, even though he made a really crappy movie that we'll get into in the next video, and you all probably know what it is. The supporting cast is all great. I really enjoy the concept of this, of an NPC within a video game developing artificial intelligence and kind of ditching his programming a bit. This is a lot like Wreck-It Ralph, but honestly, it doesn't feel like a ripoff. Although, one thing I do need to say, Fox, quit shoving F-bombs into your films. It's not as funny, it's not as edgy as you think it is. So I think they threw in a West Side Story as well, if I'm not mistaken. Stop doing that. It was funny when you did it in First Class, now it's just pathetic. And now Sony's following suit with their fucking Venom movies having an F-bomb in every single one of them. Just stop. Number 3, Spider-Man No Way Home. People will probably call blasphemy in saying this is supposed to be the greatest film of the year. It's not, for one specific reason. If you look at the tiny details of this film, the whole thing falls apart like a Jenga made of wet toilet paper. But honestly, I've seen a lot of people say this as well. The small details, the whole movie falls apart. Because when you actually stop to think about how the magic's supposed to be working, why these villains are showing up, including multiple plot holes that show up involving this, you start to realize this isn't as clever as you thought it was. Yeah, I've been sick today, so my voice is kind of hoarse, so I should have just done that at the beginning, but I forgot. But honestly, and a lot of people have said this as well, the big stuff is so good that it kind of cancels out the shitty small details. The action is stellar, the effects look good for the majority of the time, even though the Amazing Spider-Man films have far superior CGI, which is embarrassing when the movie came out almost 10 years before this one did. And the performances are all great. I like seeing all the villains back, and I was so happy to see Andrew Garfield finally get love from fans, more than just the people who actually like the Amazing Spider-Man films, instead of the people shitting on him because it's not Raimi's Spider-Man. And that was the reason a lot of people shit on his Peter. But it was nice to see him get his credit, and if he returns for the Venom movies, if he does get his franchise back, let him. Speaking of Andrew Garfield, number 2, Tick, Tick, Boom. This was damn close for number 1. 2 and 1 were kind of in limbo, and you've probably guessed what number 1 is by now. But we'll get to that in a second. Andrew Garfield deserves a freaking Oscar for this one. That's not even hyperbole. He deserves give him his Oscar. You have screwed him out of one multiple times. He deserves his Oscar for this. But he's not the only standout in this. All the other supporting cast, including Alexandra Shipp and Vanessa Hudgens and a lot of other people I don't really know the names of. They all do a fantastic job. The songs are very good. The songs are really good. I've been listening to the soundtrack quite a bit, and they're a lot of fun. The musical numbers are pretty well handled. The emotional scenes are done very well, and I like how it doesn't pull any of its punches, showing how shitty this kind of life is. They could have really sanitized it like Disney probably would have done, but they didn't, and I have to admire the balls on that, even though this is a direct adaptation of a project that already did this. But honestly, this is probably the best Broadway adaptation. I did say back when I reviewed when I did my worst of last year, when I said that Hairspray will be the only good one. Turns out I was wrong. Well done, Tick Tick Boom. And the number one film of 2021 is ShangChi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. You guys probably all saw this coming. I'm guessing most of you did, because how could it not be ShangChi? I'm guessing a lot of you were probably thinking either Spider-Man or ShangChi or maybe Tick Tick Boom. But honestly, this was the best film of the year. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a hardcore MCU fan. This really does deserve it, because not only is the action in this some of the best we've gotten in the MCU, like not only is the special effects outstanding, the choreography is fantastic, the camera work is amazing when it comes to these fight scenes, combining quick cuts with these really long takes, kind of like what Aquaman did, just better here. I don't hate Aquaman, but this one is far superior to any of the DCEU's crap. And I lost my point. Oh yeah, the cast all does great. Simu Liu is fucking phenomenal in this role, and I like how they did the Mandarin justice. And having Trevor Slattery in this, that was the icing on the cake. It really was. So, that's all we got for 2021, and in the next video, we'll be talking about the worst. So, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more rankings, reviews, and whatnot that I do here. Comment down below, what was your top 10 of the year? Do you agree with all of mine? Are there some on my list that you would have taken off? Are there some that you would have added to my list? Or any of my honorable mentions should have been on the list? Let me know down in the comments. And if you'll excuse me, I'm going to wrap this up before my lungs give out. So, I'll see you in the worst video.